Welcome back. Today we are diving into another explainer. And I gotta tell you, I am absolutely thrilled about this one. We're going to completely deconstruct the creative DNA of this modern horror anthology pitch called The Other Side. We'll break down the visual structure, the storytelling range, and exactly how it manages to hook you right from that very first frame. Let's get into it.
Good evening, night crawlers, grave robbers. Don't touch that dial unless you want your fingers to remember things your brain forgot. Wow. Talk about a chilling opening line, right? That immediately hooks you. It instantly sets up this incredibly eerie, late-night pirate radio vibe for the pilot. I mean, you can literally feel the velvet and hear the static, can't you? So every great anthology needs a solid framing device, right? And this pitch just absolutely nails it. 98.6 The Other Side serves as this literal and metaphorical bridge between the listener and the dark unknown. It's totally anchored by our visually striking host, Tickbite, sitting right there at his macabre broadcast console. He's essentially your personal guide into the weird. All right, moving on to designing the host, Tickbun.
A really strong pitch uses visuals to instantly ground the show's tone way before a single scene is even shot. And just look at how every single visual detail here serves the performance. You've got Tickbite's undead, top-heavy silhouette. That wild hair and the heavy purple velvet coat, it gives him this lanky, elegant, almost theatrical menace. And the cracked bone micro-expressions are just brilliant. I mean, the guy is a skeleton, so the designers had to figure out, well, how exactly does he emote? So they use subtle jaw tilts, empty glowing eye sockets, and this permanent, unsettling grin to communicate the whole spectrum, from wicked delight all the way to sudden alarm.
And to make him feel truly real, the pitch lays out these really strict performance constraints. Honestly, I absolutely love this list. He's always undead and ageless. He never breaks character because, well, he is the show. His humor has to be dry, dark, and super precise. He's theatrical for sure, but definitely not cartoonish. And honestly, my favorite role. He occasionally reveals a tiny flicker of genuine unease. Those specific boundaries are what create such an incredibly memorable gatekeeper persona. Like, sure, he's the one in charge, but even he knows there are things lurking out there in the dark.
Okay, let's look at story one, childhood trauma. So any great anthology really needs range, and story one, titled The Basement Stairs, totally delivers this deep, empathetic, emotional horror. Here's the brilliant setup for this one. Our protagonist, Nora Dell, inherits her Aunt May's creaky old house, and while she's getting it ready to sell, she discovers this hidden door in the pantry. It opens up to 13 stairs going straight down into the pitch black. But here's the thing. Those stairs don't lead to a normal basement. No, they lead directly down into her own buried, forgotten childhood trauma. The whole crux of this is captured perfectly in Nora's panicked realization. There is no basement. That one line emphasizes the entire thematic core of the story, which is denial. You see, Nora has spent her entire adult life reinventing herself, just trying to pretend her past didn't happen. But as this story terrifyingly proves, burying our past only makes the foundation hungrier.
Let's trace Nora's arc here, because this isn't just a simple list of spooky plot points, you know? It's really a mini narrative of self-reclamation. So she goes down those stairs and actually has to face her terrified 7-year-old self, who has literally been trapped down there all this time. Meanwhile, up above, you've got these eager homebuyers touring the house, casually talking about quote-unquote emptying it out. Then the house violently starts folding in on itself, trying to consume the child. And to survive, Nora literally has to take her younger self's hand. She has to verbally acknowledge that the trauma actually happened to them. Only by reclaiming that past does she finally manage to escape.
And all of that brilliantly illustrates the show's incredible tonal range. On one hand, we have this deeply personal, emotional horror, confronting the ghosts of our past and haunted basements. But then on the other hand, we have something completely different, but honestly, equally terrifying. And that's the satirical bureaucracy of story two, which deals with corporate dread and just trying to survive the present. So let's pivot and take a look at that second story right now.
Story two, corporate zombies. Okay, get ready for a really punchy, satirical shift in pacing here. We meet our weary customer service rep, Manny Vega. He is just exhausted working at BrightPath, Member Solutions. I mean, we've all been there, right? Suddenly, this mandatory pop-up wellness survey forces him to answer some questions, and one of them asks, "Do you feel dead inside?" So out of pure, exhausted frustration, Manny just clicks yes. And that right there is the darkly relatable inciting incident that kicks off an absolute literal nightmare with HR. Let's map out this incredibly snappy visual progression of Manny's bureaucratic doom. So he clicks yes. Almost instantly, the HR director, Miss Calder, shows up to initiate his soft removal, basically treating his inner life as company property. It gets wilder. His coworkers actually set up a memorial candle on his desk while he's still sitting right there working. And finally, when Manny understandably gets frustrated and shows actual living emotion, the computer system flags him for unauthorized soul activity. You can't make this stuff up.
So when Manny demands to know what actually qualifies as being alive to this company, Ms. Calder delivers this absolutely chilling corporate line. She says, sustainable enthusiasm within existing structures. I mean, the true horror of this entire segment really stems from a system that only values human beings as compliant tools. If your soul isn't hitting its metrics, well, they're perfectly happy to legally separate it from your body. But Manny fights back. He actually proves his soul isn't company property by literally ripping his HR file right in half. He so narrowly escapes being thrown into legacy storage, which, by the way, is this terrifying endless room of blank-faced, zombified employees just working the phones in the dark. But he does it. He and his coworker Priya successfully survive the corporate machine, they quit their jobs, and they finally walk out into the real fresh air.
All right, let's talk about the framing device twist.
Now, let's see how all of this builds to an incredible climax that totally subverts the classic anthology format. Think about what we've seen so far, right? TickBite has been the omniscient narrator all episode long. He flawlessly commands the studio space, expertly takes calls, and perfectly toys with his audience. Up to this point, he seems entirely untouched by the horrors he's broadcasting.
But then, here is the masterstroke twist. The host is actually trapped in the cursed world too. Right as he's wrapping up the show, this old beige wall phone, one that definitely wasn't there at the start of the broadcast, by the way, suddenly starts ringing. TickBite answers it, and the voice on the other end is an older, absolutely terrified version of himself. Something is coming up the stairs. The horror has finally come for the host.
Just as the studio door is violently forced open by a monstrous skeletal hand, TickBite stares right into the camera and delivers this frantic final sign-off. Don't be normal. It is such an incredible moment, and it perfectly emphasizes the core thematic message of the entire pitch. The normal world, that world of suppressing trauma and mindless corporate compliance, it will literally eat you alive. You have to embrace the weird if you want to survive. And then the broadcast just abruptly cuts to static. It leaves us with this phenomenal cliffhanger. Who is caller 3? What actually breached the studio? And as TickBite whispers right before those credits roll, are you next? It's such a provocative thought, and it honestly leaves you completely hooked and desperate to explore more of the other side. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and I will catch you in the next explainer.